Our story begins with Rory, a man so deep in the dumps he tells his therapist that talking about his problems is a waste of time. He admits he has thoroughly wrecked his life, though he is not exactly looking for a pity party or a hug. When his psychiatrist asks for details on these failures, he simply insists the damage is beyond repair. Talk about a tough crowd. He refuses to mention his ex-wife or son, fearing that honesty might land him in a padded cell. So, things are going great. But then he drops a bombshell. He has a 1-year deadline to fix his life, or he is checking out for good. Following this, he voices concern that certain answers would force her to report him, which is usually a red flag the size of a billboard. He denies being an immediate threat to himself, yet remains suspiciously vague about what happens when that clock runs out. Rory explains he is following every rule, but he clearly does not expect a happy ending. This plan of his might have roots deeper than she realizes. He confirms the countdown started a year ago, meaning time is officially ticking. And we all know how well movie deadlines go. As he leaves, he mentions there is still one thing he has not tried yet. And based on his mood, it is probably not yoga. Meanwhile, a crime boss named Scalvo is having a very loud morning, dunking a man into a sink over a leaked job. He yells that the leak scared off his best workers right before a massive election day score. So naturally, he tries to drown the messenger. Scalvo complains that he has the heist of a lifetime, but no one brave enough to pull the trigger. The man in the sink offers his own crew as a fix, but Scalvo looks like he would rather trust a hungry shark. Elsewhere, Cobby Murphy has his young son blow into a breathalyzer to start his bike. Truly, a Father of the Year candidate. He drops the boy off while a woman screams threats to call the cops. Just another average Tuesday in this neighborhood. Later, Scalvo calls a local bar and orders Cobby to meet him for a job he cannot refuse. Cobby bickers with the bartender, Mr. Kelly, before finally answering the phone to hear what the boss wants. He agrees to the meeting only after Scalvo threatens to send him back to prison. Some job offers come with very specific benefits. Soon after, Cobby arrives at a remote boathouse to see just how bad this big score is going to be. Cobby enters the boathouse and finds Rory already waiting inside. This looks like the start of a very long day. Scalvo and his associate join them to begin the briefing, bringing enough tension to fill the entire harbor. The boss introduces them as a Marine and an ex-con, but they immediately start bickering like a married couple. Scalvo loses his temper and calls them woody woodpeckers, demanding they actually focus on the crime at hand. He reveals the target is the victory party for the Boston mayoral election, because nothing says low profile like robbing the city government. The plan is to snatch a pile of undeclared cash from political graft before anyone can report it missing. He offers a 10% cut of $300,000 for just 15 minutes of easy work. Rory strangely insists he needs exactly $32,480. That is a very specific grocery bill. Scalvo agrees to pay that exact amount regardless of the total take, so the deal is officially on. Using a blueprint, he explains they will bypass security by approaching the venue from the water by boat. The team will enter through the back stairs and secure the kitchen staff while the party rages upstairs. Then they move to the main office to grab the cash bags before the armored truck arrives to collect them. Cobby clarifies that they are indeed robbing the mayor. He is finally catching on to the high stakes here. Scalvo reiterates the payout structure, emphasizing that there is plenty of dirty money to go around. Rory repeats his oddly specific price one more time, and Scalvo mocks him before finally giving in. They finalize the agreement to proceed with the robbery, though the two thieves still seem to hate each other. Scalvo lays out the final details, stressing that speed and precision are the only things keeping them out of a cell. The scene shifts to a visualization of the boat approach. This all looks much smoother in their heads. They imagine entering through the service entrance, hoping reality is just as cooperative as the plan. Back in the room, the boss threatens to kill Cobby if he makes one more sarcastic remark. Tough crowd. Rory and Cobby question the plan if the challenger, Mark Choi, wins the election. However, the boss seems more focused on the present than political shifts. Later, Rory clarifies to Cobby that he is not making a career out of this. He is just a one-and-done kind of thief. Sure he is. While they bond, the boss privately tells Scalvo to kill them both once the cash is safe. That is a hell of a retirement plan. Scalvo then catches Rory taking notes and berates him for literally writing down a conspiracy. Congratulations, you are documenting your own trial. Following this, he details the strict timing and the armed security they will face at the target. Everything must go perfectly. He then advises Rory to just announce he has a gun if anyone acts up. It is simple, direct, and incredibly stupid. The operation starts with a disaster as their boat hits rocks and begins to sink, forcing the trio to scramble ashore in the dark. Soon after, they reach the building and put on their masks. It is finally time to see if that terrible plan actually works. The robbers storm the kitchen, forcing the terrified staff to the floor and seizing their phones to prevent any outside calls. Rory actually uses the line about having a gun to control the room. Surprisingly, people tend to listen when you threaten their lives. They quickly herd the staff into a walk-in freezer to keep them contained while they hunt for the main office. But a staff member reveals that Mark Choi won the election. This means the massive crowd they expected to leave is staying put. Scalvo finally opens the safe only to find it nearly empty. All that work for a very light bag of disappointment. He begins to assault the safekeeper in a total rage, but Rory steps in to stop the unnecessary violence. Elsewhere in the building, Mayor McSally is having an even worse night, physically attacking his pollster after the loss. The mayor warns his associates that the new administration will likely uncover their corruption and send them all to jail. Meanwhile, the robbers realize their map is completely wrong as they wander aimlessly through the hallways. MapQuest strikes again. As they stumble around, they accidentally walk right into the room where the mayor and his inner circle are hiding. Rory immediately holds the mayor at gunpoint and demands that everyone empty their pockets. Talk about a lucky break. Scalvo begins collecting jewelry and valuables from the group. If there is no cash, they will just take the fashion instead. Rory forces the mayor to hand over a gold bracelet that belonged to his grandfather. The heirloom seems like just another piece of loot for now. However, he refuses to leave because the witnesses have already seen his unmasked face. That is the problem with skipping the dress rehearsal. A standoff soon follows when the police chief arrives to intervene. But Rory is not in the mood for a civil discussion. He shoots the chief during the heat of the confrontation, a decision that changes everything for the duo. The pair flees through the venue, causing a mass panic among the guests. Nothing ruins a political party quite like active gunfire. They eventually reach the kitchen area where Kabi tries to tend to a nasty head wound. It is not exactly a five-star dining experience. Following this, they manage to steal an armored truck from the loading dock to make their getaway. A high-speed police chase ensues through the rainy city streets as they desperately try to lose their tail. Rory eventually crashes the heavy truck through a fence and brings the chaotic ride to a halt. While they catch their breath, they realize a guard might still be locked inside the back. This could get complicated. They attempt to open the rear door, but the guard inside immediately opens fire. So much for a polite surrender. After a brief shootout, the thieves decide to ditch the truck and flee the scene on foot. Rory quickly hot wires a nearby getaway car. He has clearly spent some time practicing his alternative locksmith skills. Meanwhile, the pollster meets an associate in a deli to discuss the total disaster of a robbery. He orders a hitman named Booch to track down the thieves and recover the money before things get even worse. Detective Francis meets Mayor McSally back at the crime scene to assess the damage from the night. McSally ignores the bigger picture and tasks him with finding that specific gold bracelet. Its value goes way beyond the gold. Richie then orders Booch to kill the men they hired before they can talk. No loose ends, just a very short career path. Rory and Kabi drive toward a hideout while dealing with the pain of their mounting injuries. As they travel, Rory confirms the exact amount of money he needs to make this whole mess worth it. Rory uses a coded cake order to call Richie and report in. It's a clever way to stay off the radar, assuming the mob boss actually likes dessert. He reports Scalvo is dead and demands his share of the money. He thinks he is in control, but he is really just checking his own name off a list. Richie easily tricks him into giving up his location and immediately sends Booch to handle it. Never trust a man who smiles while you are bleeding. Unaware of the hitman on the way, the pair arrives at a beach house hideout. They think they are safe, but the walls are closing in. Detective Francis pulls up to the bakery in an armored vehicle. He is not here for the cannoli. The detective begins interrogating Richie about the recent bodies piling up around town. The air in the shop is getting a lot heavier. During the talk, Francis mentions the stolen gold bracelet. Richie realizes the stakes just went from a simple robbery to a political nightmare. Francis smashes a display case to make his point before leaving. It is a classic move, though a bit hard on the pastries. Back at the hideout, Rory examines Cobby and realizes the situation is worse than it looks. A beer is not going to fix this one. He confirms the bullet is still lodged in the shoulder and has to come out. Their medical equipment currently consists of a couch and hope. While digging through the bag, Cobby finds the mayor's gold bracelet. This tiny piece of jewelry is the reason everyone wants them dead. Richie calls Booch to let him know the bracelet is the real prize. The mission has changed from a simple cleanup to a high-stakes recovery. He warns his hitman that they are not the only ones hunting for it. The race is officially on, and the thieves have a massive head start. As they wait, Cobby opens up about spending 3 years in prison for his brother. It was a sacrifice that defined his life. The weight of the past hits harder when he explains his brother overdosed while he was locked away. Some debts can never be repaid. Rory shares his own motivation, explaining he needs the money to settle debts and see his son. Every choice he made led to this moment. He lists the exact financial hurdles standing between him and his family. It is a very specific price for a fresh start. Booch finally arrives at the house and pretends to be a doctor sent by the boss. He is here to perform a very different kind of operation. The hitman draws a gun and demands the score, but he is disappointed to find only a few personal items and some pocket change. Booch continues his search through the bag, tossing aside junk until he finally spots a gold watch. Then he uncovers the real prize, the mayor's stolen gold bracelet. Finding it was the easy part. Keeping it is where things get complicated. As the hitman prepares to end the night, Rory claims he has filled the house with gas. It is a desperate bluff, but nobody wants to be a firework today. Taking advantage of the hesitation, Rory disarms him and swipes the car keys. Now he is the one holding the gun and the leverage. Just as they clear the porch, a massive explosion levels the hideout. Apparently, the gas bluff was actually just a very accurate weather forecast. They quickly scramble into the stolen truck and peel away. But the debris and fire ensure this exit will not go unnoticed by the neighbors. Meanwhile, Richie learns that Frank Toomey is also hunting the bracelet. The competition is getting crowded, and his window of opportunity is slamming shut. Following the news that the robbery yielded zero profit, he has a total meltdown in the office. It turns out crime does not pay, and it is very bad for the furniture. While they drive back into Boston, the duo tries to plan their next move. But with a bleeding partner and a stolen car, the options are looking pretty thin. Rory decides to crash a therapy session to beg Dr. Rivera for help. It is certainly one way to get an emergency appointment without a copay. She steps out to the truck and examines the wound, quickly realizing that Cobby is in much worse shape than Rory described. Since she cannot treat him in a parking lot, he suggests she act as their hostage so she can legally help them. It is high-level logic from a man who just blew up a house. She agrees to the charade, but only if he promises to surrender once the surgery is over. Every deal in this city comes with a catch. So he makes the kidnapping official by threatening her. He wants to make sure the legal paperwork for their felony is filed correctly. Following the plan, he carries his partner into her home. They have moved from the crime scene to the operating table in record time. The doctor introduces herself and starts working on the shoulder. This moment carries a lot of weight, as it is the only thing keeping Cobby alive. Elsewhere, Mayor McSally loses his cool while his team struggles to crack a safe. It is a bad day to be an associate or a locked door. Cobby eventually wakes up and manages to crack a joke about surviving the ordeal. Some people just do not know when to be quiet and heal. However, the mood shifts when Dr. Rivera reveals she already called the state police to negotiate his surrender. The therapy session is officially over. As sirens wail in the distance, the pair hits the fire escape. Their peaceful recovery just turned into another sprint for freedom. Rory reaches the pavement and prepares the getaway truck, while Dr. Rivera watches from the fire escape. But as he tries to leave, she jumps into the car to make sure he does not do anything stupid. Too late for that. Soon after, a high-speed chase begins as Rory weaves through the city with the police right on his bumper. He eventually slams into a cruiser, deploying the airbags, yet somehow manages to keep the wreck moving. The pursuit moves onto a bridge where state troopers join the party. It is becoming a very crowded commute. Rory maneuvers into a tunnel, dodging traffic in a desperate attempt to lose his growing tail. Just then, a car carrier truck crashes and blocks the path, giving the trio a lucky break from the sirens. Following the narrow escape, Cobby tells him to head to a bar in Quincy to hide out and regroup. While they hide, Richie and Mr. B pack their bags at a snowy cabin. Canada is looking better every minute. The outlaws reach the bar and break in through a high window. Security through cardio is a bold choice. Once inside, Rivera confirms she is a real doctor and can help manage his pain. Finally, a useful hostage. However, Rory makes it clear he is not surrendering until his job is done. He is a very committed criminal. The conversation is cut short when a special ops armored vehicle rolls up. This quiet moment will not last. They quickly retreat to the basement as the police surround the building and prepare to breach the doors. While they wait in the dark, Dr. Rivera decides this is the perfect time for a psychological diagnosis. She explains that Cobby talks too much because he feels abandoned. Or maybe he just likes the sound of his voice. Then Frank Toomey arrives on the scene and heads toward the entrance to handle things personally. He opens the basement hatch and barks orders for the group to come out and face the music. Rory produces the stolen bracelet and demands to know why the mayor is so desperate to get it back. As leverage, he hands the jewelry over to Frank. It is a risky move for a man with no exit plan. Frank Toomey decides the party is over, ordering Dr. Rivera to leave with him while telling the men they should probably just give up now. She exits the saloon and finds the entire police force waiting outside. It seems the whole city came out to see the show. Back inside, Rory and Cobby realize the building is rapidly filling with gas. This is a very bad time to be a smoker. Just as the police move in, Malachi's saloon is leveled by a massive explosion that sends the officers scrambling for cover. Having somehow survived, the duo hops on a public bus and starts brainstorming a quick getaway to Montreal. Rory is still short on cash, so he suggests robbing a bank. Because if at first you do not succeed, double down on the felony. As they ride, he recites the numbers from the bracelet and suddenly realizes they are not just random digits, but a combination. He explains to Cobby that these numbers unlock a safe hidden inside the mayor's office. The plan is starting to take a very ambitious turn. Meanwhile, Frank Toomey delivers the recovered jewelry to Alan in a secure office. He thinks the problem is solved, but the night is young. The pair stops by a fire station to borrow some gear. Their methods of acquisition are questionable at best. Dressed as firefighters, they head toward a transit station to begin their infiltration. It is a classic costume choice for any aspiring thief. They navigate the dark subway tunnels to bypass security. It is not the most glamorous commute, but it gets the job done. Mayor McSally shows Alan the massive safe in his office and calls it his retirement plan. At least he is thinking about his future. Suddenly a fire alarm blares, forcing everyone to drop what they are doing. Rory and Cobby use the chaos to enter the building, blending right in with the actual first responders. They even arrive in a stolen fire truck with the sirens screaming. They are really leaning into the role. A fire marshal arrives and insists the mayor evacuate immediately. It is nice to see everyone taking fire safety so seriously. The fake firefighters work their way up the stairs, finally reaching the floor that holds the office. They slip inside the room and lock the door behind them. Now the real work begins. Once inside, Cobby starts worrying about the legal consequences of breaking into a federal building. A bit late for a moral compass, buddy. Outside, Mayor McSally is so desperate he tells the police to just kill the intruders, promising them a parade in return for the hit. Ignoring the death threats, Rory studies the numbers on the gold bracelet to prepare for opening the massive safe. He carefully dials the combination into the lock while the others watch with bated breath. The mechanism finally clicks, and he swings the heavy metal door open. This moment carries the weight of everything they have risked so far. They find a literal wall of cash and documents stashed inside. Jackpot. Alan sees the writing on the wall and offers to provide evidence of the mayor's corruption if they can get him immunity. He hands over a small orange drive containing 20 years of secrets. That is a lot of dirt for one little thumb drive. But the celebration is cut short when a police sniper fires a shot right through the office window. Then the police launch a massive barrage of gunfire into the room, forcing everyone to scramble for cover. The mayor frantically orders them to stop since his retirement fund is currently being used as a human shield. As they huddle on the floor, Kabi is convinced he has been shot again. The man is a magnet for lead. While the shootout cools down, Dr. Rivera puts on a helmet and prepares to enter as the official negotiator. Inside, the duo keeps arguing about whether Kabi is actually bleeding or just having a very dramatic panic attack. Dr. Rivera knocks on the door and Rory lets her in, hoping for a way out of this mess. She enters the room to find a wounded Kabi and a very stressed Alan Flynn. It is not exactly a five-star hostage situation. She looks at the pile of loot and asks Rory if having all this money actually feels the way he thought it would. In a surprising move, she offers to smuggle the cash out under her vest and deliver it to Rory's son. The gravity of the situation finally hits home, and Rory quietly admits that he does not want to die today. Kabi chimes in to agree. Turns out, getting rich is way less fun when you are being hunted by the entire city. Rory decides to end the standoff by turning himself in, but Dr. Rivera warns him the police are not planning on taking any prisoners tonight. He quickly changes his mind, figuring Montreal sounds a lot better than a morgue. While Rory and Kabi hide, Mayor McSally and the doctor surrender to the police. It is nice of the mayor to finally think about someone else for once. Just then, the safe falls from the building and bursts open, raining stolen cash onto the crowd below. Rory and Kabi use the literal money shower as a distraction to slip out of the building disguised as firefighters. They manage to steal a fire truck and peel away from the scene, which is definitely the most subtle getaway vehicle ever invented. A high-speed chase ensues as they smash through parked cars. Driving a house-sized truck through narrow streets goes about as well as you would expect. The joyride ends when Detective Francis corners the truck and holds the pair at gunpoint. It looks like the luck of these two has finally run out. However, Kabi offers him the hard drives full of government secrets in exchange for their freedom. Everyone has a price, even the law. Rory spends some time in a cell anyway, reflecting on how quiet life is when nobody is shooting at you for 10 minutes. Meanwhile, the police catch up to Mayor McSally at the airport as he tries to flee. Turns out, his retirement plan did not include a layover in handcuffs. A new administration takes over and reviews the evidence of the massive slush fund, cleaning up the mess the last guy left behind. Soon after, an officer releases our favorite bank robbers from a van, citing a very convenient second chance program. But the freedom comes with a catch, as the officer informs them the police found the cash they hid in their boots. Easy come, easy go. So they walk away as free men with empty pockets, discussing how they actually managed to survive this disaster. Rory cannot resist one last joke about Kabi being a bullet magnet as they prepare to head their separate ways. Later, Kabi waits for Dr. Rivera outside her home. He still owes her a therapy session or 10 after everything they went through. Rory finally gets to watch his son play hockey, a simple moment that felt impossible just 24 hours ago. In the snowy woods, a mounted discovers the frozen remains of Richie and Mr. B. The winter was not kind to the professionals. He notes the dead men are missing their boots. That is one way to recycle, I guess.